the artists that we love to listen to, the music they're making, they love to make.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we love to consume it.
Yeah.
And it resonates. Music takes words and messages to places that words and messages can't go by themselves.
Hello, and welcome to the Connect podcast, a podcast by the Holdridge Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to the Connect podcast. Today's going to be a really fun episode. For those that don't know, before I was at the Chamber, had a background in just loving music and managing music artists and just in that world. And so really looking forward to this episode today to get to talk with Luke Mills with FiJack. How are you today, Luke?
I'm doing great. Dude, it's been a long time, actually.
It's
we
been
were
a
across
long
the hall
time
from each other.
Yeah. So one of the first things I wanted to say today is I actually have known, it's probably been a decade or more.
More than a decade.
Yeah. I used to, I was a crappy little kid and running my own little studio. And one of my neighbors was a really cool musician who I had listened to his music back when he had a Pilot for Kite, which is an old band of his, and just really a fan of him as a person. But also we got to cross paths and didn't really know each other. We're running studios and doing the same thing just across the hall. So it's really fun to be able to full circle moment, come back and chat about this stuff. And since then, the journey's changed.
I think for both of us.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
A lot. Still getting to dive into everything, but the journey has changed because the playing fields have changed.
Yes.
So all of our platforms are different now than they were back then. And I was just talking with some people the other day, social media has been a huge, big part of a lot of the entertainment. Going from pre-MySpace to where there wasn't streaming. I mean, even before MySpace, it was getting out there. It was radio. Mm-hmm. Everyone wanted to be on the radio. That was the place where you wanted your music to be because that's what we all listened to. Because we were all listening. If you're around Nebraska's area, central Nebraska, it was Hits 106, Top 9 at 9, right? And you wanted to be on that Top 9 at 9 if you could. And then it got into the space of MP3s.
Yeah.
And Apple started making devices where you didn't have to buy your music for a CD, and you could just put them in your ears. And then from there, we moved to online Apple Music, and that's before streaming. So you had to still download the MP3s. The MP3s sounded kind of quirky. They sounded a little jargly from the internet. And then MySpace came along. And, MySpace actually is what I believe launched everything we know today about social media.
Oh, absolutely.
It was the thing. I mean, you have your Reddits and everything, but the commercial platform of where everybody could come together was incredible. And then, of course, we all know the history. MySpace disappeared, Facebook comes in.
Yeah.
We've got all these other platforms now. Now we're up to, TikTok is the new radio. And music is not. Now we're streaming.
Yeah.
Our movies are streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So from when you and I first met to where it is now, the entire terrain is different.
Yeah, it's funny. When I used to help artists all the time, and the first thing I would say is you need to get it on a CD. It's the funniest thing now. You'll look at someone and be like, don't waste the money, but it's still part of that world. It's interesting. So obviously, you've been around for a long time and been in the music industry for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey from the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I was born here in Holdridge from a little tyke, and my parents moved to Kansas. We ended up in Kansas City all the way until my freshman year of high school. Got into music and learning to play guitar in Kansas City. Really learned a lot about rock and roll music. And then I moved to Republican City, Nebraska in, I think it was 94.
Oh, wow.
And met my friends, Chris Spile and Shane Moore and a few other guys. And we started a little rock and roll band. And that's where it started. We were recording and writing our own songs then. Knew nothing about pretty much anything. Mm-hmm. It was just kind of a whimsical, hey, let's start a band, and we're friends and we're playing music together. We really wanted to write our own stuff. And now, it's all the guys are in different walks of life now, different industries, but we all still share that music love. And I'm one of the few, even outside of my friends group, I feel like I've seen 5 or 6 transitions of the music industry, entertainment industry. And I followed it and tried to be an artist for a long time and got to tour coast to coast, many times. Worked with a lot of artists, started working with independent labels in Columbus, Ohio. I've been working in Nashville. And now in the last year, I mean, the terrain has changed so much that like you start looking at the writing on the wall and you're just like, this is where it's at now with producing. And here's the thing why I really got into producing with my co-producer, C.R. Pendleton, is the one thing that hasn't changed is the core part of where the entertainment is coming from and why it's around, and that's songwriting. Yeah. So songwriting, song production, I mean, yeah, I know there's a lot of people that are really scared about AI taking over the music thing and the movie thing. I really believe, I mean, maybe it'll learn to do some crazy things, but double entendres, humor, the actual true fear, emotional things, I think if AI ever gets there, it's a long way off still. Yeah. And so the human element comes into, you can go and get in Chat GPT and you can be like, write me a song about such and such and make it a country style. Yeah. And it will totally go and do the thing and it'll crap some things out. And then when you read it, that it's like, this doesn't quite make sense. Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, but some of it is getting better, but like there is something like when we have artists in the studio, the number one thing, it doesn't matter what the medium is, it comes back down to picking up an instrument and making a melody line and saying what's in your heart. Yeah. And that will never change. And so, we got to take that and bring it to somewhere and to get people attention. And that's what we're all trying to figure out all the time.
Yeah, no, one interesting thing I think a lot of people don't think about, but AI is good at coming up with things that humans have already come up with, the amount of times you've listened to a song and someone says something and you're like, oh, that's exactly how I feel. But you'd never know it until you heard those lyrics. Right. I think AI will never replace that.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I mean, technically, if in the world of the Matrix, if we're all electrical and chemical things happening in here and we're ones and zeros, technically from somewhere we're probably a type of an AI.
Oh, I love that.
And we have grown into what we are and we're always growing. We're still evolving with how we think and learn. And technology, think about just technology in general from from when I was a kid to the last 20 years from high school till now, 24 years, whatever that is. Yeah. But then in the last 100 years, you think about the Industrial Revolution and now we're into this technology revolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's all technology, but now we're figuring things out even more. And who knows? I'm not gonna. I mean, maybe John Connor's right. Maybe the T1000s are coming, and we don't know. I don't know. But for right now, I think I don't think I'll live long enough to see robot takeover. Yeah.
One of the things that and this got brought up at the Iron Horse Festival last year a lot, but people don't always coincide art and music with business and entrepreneurship, and it couldn't be more similar. In my experience, musicians are small businesses. They just don't really know it yet,
Absolutely.
How do you, when did it first click to you that being a musician also meant being an entrepreneur in that way?
So funny story. So here in Holdridge, Nebraska, my first big boy job was working at KUVR radio station here in Holdridge on the AM side. Early on Saturday mornings, coming in, powering up the antenna.
That's fun.
And putting out music. Sometimes we'd get to cut into the syndicated station on the FM side for the Husker football games.
Oh, cool.
I would take my own music and I'd put it on there before the game and after the game.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's why you got the job, I'm sure.
I did. Well, then that didn't last a long time. I started working I had lots of different jobs. I worked at Pizza Hut here in Holdridge back in the day. We started a band and we were all working there. And then we'd go do shows on the weekend. But here's the thing we didn't realize until this second, that I moved out of Holdridge and the band kind of had broken up. And I still wanted to do music, but I needed a change of scenery. So I ended up moving to Hastings and I got a job, thanks to the Pizza Hut here, just on odd shifts at the Pizza Hut in Hastings. Okay. And I lasted 3 days. Because what I realized what was happening was it was like when you're new somewhere, you've got to take the shifts nobody else wants. Oh, sure. So seniority, all that. And I ended up turning in my apron, and I went full on, like, I have enough shows coming up. I'm making enough money. And that was when I started realizing the work on that side of it.
Yeah.
And so that would have been about 2005, 2000, maybe even 2004-ish, somewhere in there.
Oh, wow.
2005. And that's when it clicked that, like, you have to make money. I have rent to pay. I got these things to do.
Yeah.
And started figuring up how many shows I needed a month. The very basic stuff. It wasn't until later, but that was the beginning when I realized this is a business. Like, you have to make things work to make money to make this happen if you're going to do this full time. Anymore, that's also when the market wasn't oversaturated with artists, so you could play a lot more.
Absolutely.
But no, it is a small business. And a lot of people don't think of it like that. They think that someone just gives them money and they just put their stuff out online, and you have songs and they have a little conversation here and there, and people should just love it.
Yeah.
No, you have to market it. You have to get it out there. You have to do the work. You've got to even pay for advertising.
Yeah, you're selling a product, even though it's a product that people might love.
Yes.
Everyone loves music, but it's still a product.
Yeah.
And it's selling yourself. That's something that I think a lot of people outside of the music industry don't really think of. It's a hardcore grind.
Yes.
So you are a chamber member under FiJack Entertainment Coalition.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people, they were confused about that move just because it was Luke Mills music, and then all of a sudden there was this coalition. Can you tell us a little bit about what FiJack is?
So the reason it definitely changed, one major reason is because I partnered up with other people. So my co-producer is a partner with me on the production studio aspect. Everything that you're seeing here has been a collaboration of resources to bring a Nashville-style studio right here in the heart of Holdridge, which is in the heart of Nebraska, in the middle of nowhere. But also, Luke Mills' music, that was my artistry. Mm-hmm. And so where people get confused is, like, FiJack is literally, we're a development production firm. Mm-hmm. And so we're not making FiJack music as far as, like, it's not me making a FiJack record.
Right.
It's us working with lots of different artists, finding out what they love to do with their music and where they're trying to go. And then we help get them the quality project that they need done. Yeah. And then with the development side of it, not just with the music, but like how to, where to put their music out at. Yeah. How they're going to get shows, even from when their presentation, like at live shows or presentation online. Mm-hmm. Even like creating cover art. Yeah. So that's the difference. Luke Mills' music was just my thing I started years ago when the rock bands ended and I needed an outlet for music. It turned it into more country. Yeah. And I'm still creating music, but now it's more fun for me because I'm actually investing a lot more time into these artists and watching them grow. And I've actually it's kind of reignited my love for the whole thing because as you well know, the music industry can be so fickle and it's heartbreaking a lot. And it's a lot of hard work. It's probably the hardest industry I think I've ever wanted to go after and be a part of. Yeah. And if I was smarter, I would just do something else. Right. But the challenge is there, and I've done it for so long that I'm like, well, who better? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There are probably better people than me, but
no, I think that's something that a lot of people in the music industry are thinking. I mean, just in general, they're like, I could do so much, the same energy I'm putting in and do so much more, but it's the love. I mean, and it comes out on the output of it. The artists that we love to listen to, the music they're making, they love to make.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we love to consume it. Yeah. And it resonates. Music takes words and messages to places that words and messages can't go by themselves. Yeah. So it will always be a thing for, I think, the human spirit will always crave that kind of, I don't care who you are. I've never met anyone that's like hates music. Right. Like they have their genres. Like they might hate country or they might hate metal or they love metal and don't love, whatever it is, pop music. I mean, I love it all. Yeah. And a good song is a good song no matter what genre it is. And when you hear something, I got to brag on Savannah Chestnut. Yeah. She just put out this song that we got to produce for her called Trailer Number 3. Oh my gosh. I honestly feel this way. I love all of our artist stuff. But she did something that was just so cool with that. She's been on the journey. She's done the thing. And it's just really cool to watch her take her heart in the most vulnerable point and talk about the dream, how she's scraped to get there, and at the same time she's still the girl that she's always been. And then the competition is heartbreaking, and she's just being real about the situation.
Yeah.
And those kind of songs, when those come along, that song should be a #1 hit. If anyone else did it, if Lainey Wilson did that song, if anybody did that song, it would be a #1 hit. And here's this awesome young lady from Kansas who's been grinding for you, who's been on The Voice.
Yeah.
You know? And even at that level, it's still a grind. And who's running a small business.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So I just don't think that's ever going to change.
Well, and she's running a small business that's breaking into this market. The amount of people that I talk to, one of them that comes to mind is Bob King.
Yes.
He really enjoyed her performance at the Iron Horse Festival last year, which he still talks to me about to this day.
Course,
so she's breaking into this market. And I think that's something important too. How many artists is FiJack currently working with? You know?
So estimated, I'd have to look at the actual numbers. I mean, over the last 3 years, coming up on 3 years, we have definitely worked with over 75 artists. We have produced well over 120 songs. We have probably close in between 17 and 20 artists that are in some sort of production contract or independent label contract.
That's amazing.
And and here's the thing with that. What we're doing with FiJack is we're building a community. That's why it's the FiJack Entertainment Coalition.
Yeah.
We're trying to help artists, rising tide raises all ships. So it's really a family, and almost we want to see it kind of be like a movement out here.
Yeah.
But they're all working really hard. They're all at different levels. They're all taking different tests at different points in their life. And we're working with a 16-year-old, and we've got a couple of 50-year-olds.
Yeah.
But like a couple of them are doing great things, like Jalen Johnston, who's going to be at the Iron Horse Festival. He has been working with us for over a year, and he's put out 3 songs. He's going to have 3 more songs coming out after The Voice.
Oh, nice.
However that looks, And then he's coming to Iron Horse, and he's going to have a killer performance.
Yeah.
And I could talk about so many more. I mean, I don't want to leave anyone out. So if any of you guys are watching this, I'm sorry I didn't say your name. But it's just really cool. They're all different levels. And we've got people in Kearney that are doing some stuff. We've got people coming out from Colorado.
Yeah.
We have an artist from Iowa, Omaha, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're definitely infiltrating the region.
Good.
So it's really nice.
That's amazing. You mentioned earlier, you didn't say artist development, but you said development. And when I was in music and managing artists, that was a need. There was the record labels, the big record labels had what they called artist development, where they would take a full, your visual and basically your brand, and they would put it together for the artist. And it became inauthentic.
Yeah.
And so independent musicians kind of ditched that. Even as a brand, you need branding.
Yeah.
So do you guys help artists with like artist development?
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
I can't speak to what the national, your top record labels,
Sure.
the top of the industry do. They all do things a little bit different.
Yeah.
I've been in meetings with some of the top industry people, and I will say this: it's very much there's a eye-opening to how everybody has their little niches, but how they turn somebody into a commercial success. And it is, you're right. There's not a lot of like what we would call artist development or none of that anymore. It used to be, sometimes, I only know this from a couple, I won't name names, but like, some of the artists that we know to be superstars today, dare I say, they were groomed from 13 years old at the very beginning, and they have kind of been made and set up for that. And I find, whether you think that's fair or not, that's what happened, and good for them. They found a thing that worked, and some of them are multi-billion-dollar brands now. Yeah,
exactly.
But the cool thing that I've always had a heart for has always been the independent market. I've always toured independently.
Yeah.
I was signed to an independent label with a couple of my rock bands. But the thing is you like to be in control.
Yes.
It wasn't just about, having a record out on the shelf, but it was about like, we did the record, we wrote the record, we designed the record, we designed our look on tour, we scheduled the tour.
Yeah.
It was kind of a rite of passage, you know, like you took pride in the whole thing. And today the industry has changed again, where like we're finding that a lot of these younger artists, that doesn't work. Dare I say, the artists coming up today are not built for today's industry yet.
Right.
And here's why I think that. I think that it's a complete unknown now. I think even your top artists, your top, I don't want to call them controllers, but like your industry professionals, the conversation that I'm having all the time is everyone doesn't know how to do it anymore. Our technology has changed so much that when someone can go get on TikTok all on their own and go viral and do something huge, it's kind of what I would say has leveled the playing field.
Absolutely.
But it still takes a lot of work, and it still does take those principles of you've got to either be developed or develop yourself. You've got to write good songs. You've got to run it like a business.
Yeah.
So the ones that are running it like a business, they are succeeding.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. What are some of the common challenges that musicians face that you think FiJack might be working to solve?
Oh gosh, a couple things. Well, one is quality.
Yes.
Quality control. You know, a lot of artists had a lot of great ideas in their garages or closets or bedrooms, you know, but the idea didn't transpose well into the actual arena because it didn't sound big enough or wasn't produced right. And they might have great songs, but their other influences also might get in the way of what the actual song could be.
Yeah.
And so we try to help with that a lot. We try to take that song to a place where it's special, you know, not just another carbon copy of another copy. When someone writes a really great song, has some great lyrics and great melody line, and then they like, oh, I want it to sound like, I love Green Day, but we want it to sound like Green Day. Well, that's not really what's happening now. So like you're limiting your how your song's going to be perceived and received. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is we're looking at the future as well, trying to figure out where can we take unique things and show that these artists are actually artists. Yeah. You know, not just copying somebody else. We want them to find their voices. We want them to find their looks, what they bring that's special to the table, their story. Yeah. To resonate with people. So that's been a challenge. Just to get younger artists to understand that. Obviously, they all want to play. They want to play a lot. So we're connecting artists with either shows or potential booking companies. Yeah. But there's a whole process with this. Like, you just can't go get a booking agent. Yeah. A booking agent's not going to work with you if you don't have your package put together. If you don't got good songs and it doesn't sound good and it doesn't look right and it looks kind of, or whatever you're trying to do, like they're going to be like, you're not ready yet. They want to present stuff to their buyers where people feel confident, like this looks like it needs to look and feel, and they know where they're going to get a show maybe before even hearing your music. Yeah. So that's a big problem. It's marketing. Yeah. Do you still service to radio? Is that still something that you ship artists to? We do. Yeah. That's good. Radios, here's the thing. It sounds like I'm talking like an expert and I'm talking like I've been back, but the truth is it's all changed so much. I have been to aspects of my career, like arrived at certain points in my career that have taught me lessons. And I can't really say that I'm an expert on anything except I'm maybe an expert on the principles of what you have to use to build new structures in this industry. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm saying is like the principles have always been the same. Take songwriting. Songwriting is always going to be the foremost thing that's going to connect with the person. After that, it's what you take here. If you're trying to market something that's not a good song, no one's going to care. Yeah. You know. So here's what's important about everything that's already been done. Radio is still relevant. There is still, and it will always be this way because we live in a time where everybody wanted to be on the radio. You wanted to have a number one hit record, it was because it was a number one hit on the radio. Yeah. You know, it was before iTunes. That still resonates with people. When you hear your song on, 93.1 The River or Y102 or Hits 106 or K-Bear or any of these stations in the Midwest, like there's still magic there. Yeah. There's like, even still, I put a lot of songs on the radio, and even if the radio station plays it once, it still feels cool to turn it on and hear it through your car speakers
Absolutely.
without you controlling it, or somebody else is doing it. It's still magical there. If it was possible, there's a place over in Kearney, a record store. I still go in there because I like to go in and get a vinyl record.
Yes.
And so like artists are still kind of doing CDs. They still do vinyl because there is something to that tangible thing where I made a record. Here it is like this. It's hard digitally to be excited about Spotify sometimes. It's like, well, here's another Spotify thing in the sea of all these other little squares.
How important do you feel budgeting and marketing is in relation to something like a bakery?
It's probably even more important in the entertainment industry. With your actual physical stores of like bakeries and like restaurants or goods and services stores, facilities, like a lot of those places are, they might be novelty type shops, like an ice cream shop, right? That's a novelty, really. But if it's really good, you can't get that online. You have to go in and do that. The thing with music and even movies, I'll even go that far, like people aren't even really going to the theaters anymore because you just wait for it, and we can all buy our 90-inch televisions now really cheap and stream it at home. Marketing and figuring out your budget is even more lucrative with marketing your music. And then on top of that, it's trial and error even more. If you're making cookies at a cookie shop, right? And people really do love your cookies, and the word's out there, and people who come in and take your cookie and they love it. Well, you figure out how many cookies you're going to sell a week, and you buy your ingredients. And then you realize how much you want to announce a sale or something for your cookie store. It's going to go out, and most people are going to, well, there's probably not a lot of cookie stores, so we're going to sell this. But there's so many artists, and a lot of different tasting cookies in the music world, right? So like you've got to figure out who your target audience is. You've got to invest even into the trial and error period. And that really becomes that can be heartbreaking too, when you think something's going to go a certain way and you think you've got it nailed, and then you find out that it's not that way. But you have to keep grinding, and I think every business to a degree goes through this. But the music entertainment industry, like I said, it is literally. I always go back to I was watching Shark Tank a couple years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, and Mark Cuban was one of the sharks. And I'll never forget it because I thought it was so funny. And I was trying to be an artist, and I saw this band come on Shark Tank.
Oh, really?
And they were looking for a certain amount of money to do a record and all this kind of stuff. And they did. They ended up getting they got one of the other guys because they just wanted to own a band. Like they just always thought that would be cool. But Mark Cuban, before they even played their first note, he said the music industry is the most difficult industry. It doesn't make a profit. And for that very reason, I'm out. Before they even started. He's like, it's going to be a waste of my investment. And I think everyone else felt the same way with that thing. But the one guy was like, well, I just like these guys' music, so we're going to do this. And never heard about that band again. So I've always thought about that. Like, it is the most difficult one. And to me, maybe I'm a crazy person, but like it was also kind of a challenge. Like it was like Mark Cuban just challenged me to take this industry on. And I am not a big player in this. I am a small fish in a very big sea of the music industry. This is just a little region. And even in this region, there are other people that are doing what we're doing to a certain degree. I like to think we have our own little secret sauce. But it's just about just going for it and trying it out.
What lessons did you bring from your own music career into FiJack when you started doing this?
Well, the biggest one was like having a realistic expectation of what's happening. So many times when we were in high school, we thought we didn't really understand how the world worked. So there's always the next step. You get to the next step here, and then there's another step you're going for, and then another step. It never ends. I heard the saying, we were talking to one of the biggest bands on a tour back in the day, and at a show that we were opening for, and our question then was, how do we get to where you are? And they said, that's the wrong question to be asking, because we're asking, how do we get to be as big as U2 or the Beatles? So they're trying, even your top artists are still grinding for this thing, right? So coming in, the biggest lesson is coming into it with a realistic expectation, knowing that you're going to lose a little bit, but the risk to reward is really great.
Yeah.
So there's that, the lesson of math, figuring out to do the music industry part, you really have to love it. You have to love it, and you have to really want to do something with it. And I do really love it. So I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
I can't shake it. I'm not touring anymore, but like I still come down here even when I'm working on someone else's project. I'm still, there's a whole folder on here that says Luke Mills projects, and I've got ideas that I want to do, and I look for places I've never been. But
so watch for that Luke Mills hip hop album.
There to come. Adam Bomb's coming in to the guest on it.
No, one thing I wanted to ask, one thing that we talk to businesses a lot about at the Chamber especially is how important it is to be involved in the community. And FiJack does that well. I mean, you guys are not only involved in the Iron Horse Festival and Midsummer, Swedish Day stuff, but you're also a Chamber member as FiJack. And Lori and I meet with you often about music stuff and just stuff in general that we don't have insight into. How important do you think that is for small businesses, but musicians too, to just be involved with the community?
I think it's always, so part of that goes back to your last question. It's very important because you have to, if you're just out there trying to do your own selfish thing just to make money because you want to be rich, it doesn't come off well.
Yeah.
Having community, it really does take a village to raise a business. But you've got to offer something to the community, and then you can't do it by yourself. That's one thing I really learned big time. And years ago, it was always the events that were like tied to something else. So like we do, obviously the Iron Horse thing is happening. The artists we brought in last year being a part of this like arts festival, and also is something that was helping to contribute to an event for the community here in Holdridge to be a part of, so they can have some fun and see some other things and like be active in the community. So we're not just a bunch of people, no offense to anyone, but growing old and then just dying in our homes.
Right.
Like we're being active. We're developing our community. So that's super important. We just did a thing tying our music to St. Jude event. Raising it. Part of the thing here in Holdridge that FiJack has been a part of has been the local CASA chapter.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And we bring in, we're raising money. The artists are still getting paid, but we've created this really awesome event that raises a lot of money for the local CASA chapter here in Holdridge and Phelps County, and that. Actually, every artist that's been a part of that has actually had some sort of, boost every time that they get more followers, they get more people helping their event because they came in and donated some time to be a part of that. And then partnering with other businesses, music and food and music and drink, go hand in hand. So,
they do.
We doing stuff at JB's here in town or at Lost Way. The Drive, they've done some events that are artistic, and I'm probably leaving other people out once again, but these are the ones I've gotten to work with. And they all do great jobs, and it's great to work with people who are also trying to operate at a higher level in their industry. So it really makes you want to bring the best of yours to the table too. So it is very important to be working within community, to be engaged in a chamber setting.
I love that you said that. One of the things I did with artists that were unsure about going to a new community. So for example, we'd set up a tour in Des Moines and our tour stop in Des Moines, and this artist had never even been to Des Moines. And I would say, what you do is you show up, if you could show up a few days early, go volunteer. Go do something. I was lucky enough to early in my music career, I started listening to marketers more than I listened to musicians. And one of them is Gary Vee. And I don't know if you know Gary Vaynerchuk, but he talks about jab, 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 right hook, which is you just give, and then ask. But give. And I think that's important. It's reciprocity, right? It's not just with people, but with, the universe. You talked about karma earlier. It really is just making sure that you're developing goodwill. And it usually, every artist we had do that, they would have 10 or 12 people they'd never met before that heard they were volunteering or they volunteered with, and they were like, I'll come check out your show.
Yeah.
And it was just 10 or 12 extra people that they wouldn't have had they not spent an hour helping that community. I think it's important for any business that's wanting to do business anywhere to just get involved with where they're doing business.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. It's like just the way that the business relationships work in a town to grow events or just awareness of a good town system.
Yeah.
Well, just take that concept and go outside of that, do the same thing, but from town to town or from state to state. We aligned ourselves with some businesses in Nashville last December.
Yeah.
We do these FiJack showcases where we go into other territory, and not to infiltrate,
right.
But Nashville, we all know Nashville, that's where you go.
Yeah.
Like that's, if you can pull something off in Nashville, it kind of gives you a little bit of notoriety. You're not going to make a lot of money in Nashville,
right?
Unless you're a top-tiered person that's I don't want to say controlling, but working in that industry on the top level. But like a lot of those guys that are working in Nashville, they're going outside of Nashville to all these other places. But you still kind of want to make a splash. It's like when you do something in Nashville, it's really special. Just like radio still has a special thing.
Yes.
Nashville, Tennessee is known for breaking country music artists.
Yeah.
And anymore, even rock and roll artists.
Yeah, I think Nashville's always going to have a little a special spot in the music industry just because. And you talk about oversaturation. There's a lot of it, in Nashville.
I love Nashville. I like working in Nashville. We get to go down there. Like I said, we partnered with other businesses down there to pull off our FiJack showcase last December. Huge success for the artists. Everybody got to be seen, played in a full room, in Nashville, Tennessee. That's a really big deal.
Yeah, it is.
So you've got a lot of cool things happening, but those relationships started because of the principles that started in small town.
Yeah. Like
how you navigate and work with people in your community should teach you how to work with people in other communities as well.
One of your guys' goals in FiJack was to bring some of those artists to Holdridge. Is that correct? Yeah. So kind of like a lifeline.
Yes.
Which is really cool. I love that.
Kearney has always been a really interesting place too, because I-80, these artists are constantly going from coast to coast on I-80.
Yeah.
Probably I-80 might be one of the most busiest interstates across that goes all the way across the entire United States. So you have artists and tour buses going all the time.
It was my favorite part is catching someone that was on their way from Omaha to Denver and getting a cheap booking fee because they're just going to be there anyway.
And we're trying to do that with the up and comers. There's a band that was just a couple years ago, they were nobody. Mm-hmm. And now they're huge. They played over in Worstog last summer, and they just did a show in Kearney, and over 6,000 people were at that event. And these guys just blew up but they were playing those circuits that kind of like what we're trying to be a part of here. Bring people to Holdridge, be a part of Iron Horse Festival. Logan Mize, he played last year at Iron Horse, and it was really great that we got him. And that dude's a heavy down in Nashville. Yeah. And now we're set up for this year's Iron Horse, and we're gonna have some fun.
Luke was inducted into the Nebraska Country Music Hall of Fame. Was it last year?
Yes, in 2023.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
What is unique about building that type of career in the music industry in Nebraska? It's not a typical place that people think of when they think of the music industry.
No, it's not, but it is still really important because it's the same way that you have to start somewhere. And these are kind of the channels that you have to use. If you can't be great in your little circles, then how do you expect to be great in the bigger ones? So I like to play blackjack. Yeah. As in Vegas even sometimes. No, I'm not a great blackjack player.
But you like it.
But I like it. And I usually win. But when I first started, I was playing at the dollar tables back now. Those don't even exist anymore, I don't think. But then you graduate to the $5, $10 tables. And then now I think you can't find one for $25. But then there's these $100 tables and $1,000 tables. And you're dealing with a lot of money. But the game's the same. Yeah. So I'm not telling people to go gamble, but being in the music industry kind of feels like a gamble.
It sure does.
Your business skills and the things that you're learning, that you're developing, you've got to do really well with the small things before you're going to build up to the next thing. And then really all you're doing is trading up for bigger problems. So you're never going to arrive. That's the thing I've learned out of all of this, and why, getting to the Nebraska Country Music Hall of Fame that was a big thing for me. I don't feel like I was old enough, but when I look at what's going on in the last 20, 25 years of my career, accomplished a lot. I actually didn't get to realize that until that day.
Yeah.
Where you actually start thinking like, why am I here? How am I getting this award? Like, and you're like, well, kind of, because it doesn't feel like I've actually.
You start counting your accolades. You're like, wow, I'm kind of crazy.
Kind of does. Toured with some of the biggest names in rock music and country music. We've toured coast to coast.
Yeah.
Well, we made a living on the road. Like we toured. We did not these 2 dates on the weekend. That's not a tour. Yeah. We would back out of our driveway at the beginning of 1 month, and we wouldn't see that driveway for 2 to 3 months, especially in the summertime, and we would just live on the road. And that teaches you some things too.
Sure does.
You have to get along with people. You start realizing, back to your business thing about like a band or an artist as a business, you start figuring out, we had players on the road not make it 2 weeks because they couldn't handle the road, or you start figuring out who you want to be with in a band for 9 hours at a time and who you don't want to be in a band with.
Yeah.
Who's going to honor their word and who's not, who's going to honor contracts, who's not. You just like with anything, you know who you want to work with, and you start figuring out your lane. And I have not played Madison Square Garden.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I haven't played there yet. I haven't even performed at Pinnacle Bank Arena.
Right.
But I have performed at Vieiro Event Center.
There you go, and that's amazing. No, I used to DJ for the Tri-City Storm, and that was me being on the DJ booth up there. I was like, wow, this is amazing. There's 4,000 people here.
Yes.
But it's incredible. Are you, so you mentioned your age. Are you the youngest that was ever inducted in the Nebraska Country Music Hall of Fame?
Not at this point.
Okay.
No, there's been some younger ones and definitely some older ones. But I think what it was though is like the thing about the Nebraska Country Music Hall of Fame is, when COVID hit, it wrecked their thing, and they even had some people pass away because a lot of people didn't know about this. I didn't know about it even, and then finding out about it and then being inducted. And now I'm on that board and I'm involved now, and it's been a great experience because we're trying to grow this thing now. We're rebranding. We're making it open and making it more aware.
Good.
Let people know that there's this thing out here that's really special and unique.
Yeah.
And those kind of things help also into the next level. So who knows? That might be the best thing I ever do.
No,
that's all right.
I think that's huge. And that people don't know. You speak a lot about MySpace, but that's actually how I figured out who you were. We were neighbors, but I knew you before that because I was a fan of Pilot for Kite on MySpace, which is hilarious. But back in the day, MySpace was location based. So I met a lot of, my producer for 12 years that I worked with for a long time, met him on MySpace and heard your music through MySpace. And there was a hip hop group from Hastings that was doing big things, and met them on MySpace through people. So it's kind of crazy.
We toured because of MySpace.
Yeah.
Like you could look up venue and find friend bands based on genre and location, and that was really the height of the 2000s. For a lot of artists where music and touring was a real thing. And then somebody figured out that it was too good of a thing, and they wouldn't get enough of that money. So
you know what? I think
shut it down.
Yeah, I'm hoping we make a full circle moment back to a MySpace-like platform. It went from MySpace to Facebook, and you lost your friends. You got to see all your friends groups, but you didn't have your top friends, right? Like MySpace had.
Yes.
You didn't have music on your profile, or if you were of my generation, you had the coding where your page looked all great, And I think we're moving back.
I don't want to give too much away, but I will say that's something that the FiJack community has actually been talking a lot about. And, not to give too much away, but, these kind of conversations are happening all the time.
Yeah.
At least for this industry. And I think there is going to be a resurgence of something that will really look like that again.
Good.
I don't know that we'll be the first ones to do it because I think we're all having the same conversations across the board.
Yep.
But I hope it does go back to something like that, because that's when things were people able to communicate and see things in chronological order.
Yeah.
For posting and things like that. it really did help the system, which is why to be honest, I really like TikTok for that very reason.
Yes.
You can I don't have to put very much money into TikTok, put a post out. It could get seen at least by hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Maybe not liked, but it'll be seen.
Yeah.
And if people end up resonating with that, you can build that community really quick.
Are there any things that you wish you would have known earlier in your career that could have helped save some stress?
Oh gosh, all the things.
Yeah.
I mean, hindsight's 2020. And you don't, these are the things that we say, you don't know what you don't know.
Oh my goodness.
So it's really, if I could go back and tell my younger self anything, I don't even think, it wouldn't be like I could go back and be like, hey, there's going to be this thing called Facebook and there's going to be these things and Google and all this stuff is going to change the world. No, what I would go back and say is be patient. Don't take yourself so seriously that you think something is going to be a certain way because of an emotional response or how you feel about it. Look beyond your feeling in the situation with business. Do the research.
Yeah.
Get ahead of it the best you can, because you don't know, and that allows you to be creative. You might be the guy that creates the next .com phase or Google. You never know. But do I wish I'd known certain things? Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I could go back and give myself advice, knowing that I couldn't tell them about the things that are happening. I mean, 16 to 19-year-old Luke would have no idea what 45-year-old Luke is even talking about, but just to say hey, grind, do the thing, invest wisely, just do the best you can with what you got, and that it's not actually a competition.
That's huge.
It's your only enemy is yourself every day. And I know everyone says that. That's kind of the buzz, phrase now is you the guy in the mirror is the guy, but it's true.
Yeah.
That's what we try to explain to all of our different artists. And it's hard. You want to, when we were growing up being artists, you experience this. It's you're going to go do a show and you're going to outplay the other band and you're going to get more people like you. And they're our music better than your music and blah, 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 blah. And what I learned is I like so many different things and I'm one person. And we try to instill into our artists. And even when we're creating music and everything, we're saying, hey, don't look at these other artists and what they're doing, because they're all in different places and spaces. They're all taking different tests. So if you start copying this guy that's taking the test that he's got, you're putting those answers down on your test and you're getting the wrong answers.
The wrong answers, yeah.
This isn't for you, that was for them. So don't look at what they're doing. And if you're seeing them see success, you should be happy about it because they're seeing some success, which means if they're doing their thing correctly and you do your thing correctly, you will see the success that you're looking for as well. But you got to be patient. You got to keep your eyes on your own paper.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
I love that because I think businesses think this too, but man, is it a problem in the music industry with abundance. There's a lot of people that are going to be making music. There's going to be people who listen to your song and then they go and make a version of your song that they wrote, right?
Yes.
There really is no competition. I mean,
no.
What'd you say earlier? You said a rising tide
raises all ships.
That's amazing.
And that is, if you want to know what the real vision for FiJack is, it is that. Yes, when you come to us, you're going to spend money with us. We're providing a service. We don't do this for free.
Right.
This is a business. But the ones that are working with us, like I said, we've worked with probably close to 75 to 100 artists. We've put out over 120 songs, probably more than that actually, to be honest. But we're constantly touching all these different artists, and all these different artists are doing their things, and we're helping them, giving them pointers. And some are over here and some over there, but the entire thing, I try to get everyone to see, especially at our FiJack showcase events. The crowds are there for everybody, and the whole thing looks good. So you might have these different levels on the surface of everything, and everyone's here, but they're not. But when you start realizing that the whole thing is doing this, it helps you relax a little bit and enjoy it a little bit more.
Yes.
And I think that's the big thing with all the artists that we work with. I think we're really encouraging them to, hey, do you.
Yeah.
Be you. I don't like you because you're going to sound like this artist over here. I like you because you sound like you.
Yeah.
This is what I want to hear. I don't want another version of so-and-so or blah, blah, blah band. I can hear them all I want. I can do, if I want to hear Metallica, I want to listen to Metallica. But what do you do? Like, what's your special thing? If you just want to be a carbon copy, a copy of Metallica, okay, cool. I'll probably like that, and it'll be cool. But it's not going to be real special. But if you start bringing in an aspect of what you do, and I think this is with every business, put your story into this, put your flair and your flavor into what you're doing. That's what's going to sell you.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about TikTok too. I was going to say this and I forgot. When you're making TikToks, you said you don't even have to put a lot of money into it.
No.
I think you honestly have a better chance at reaching more of an audience if it looks organic and you don't put any money into it.
I think you're right. I think sometimes you do have to put some money into some of the things. But here's the thing too. Again, that whole idea of the rising tide raises all ships. The coalition, all the FiJack artists, whenever we're doing an event or somebody puts out a new song, you start seeing a lot of the other artists helping share. It kind of ignites that algorithm, and then it helps everybody. So like, I'll pick on him. When Tim Zock puts out a brand new song, which he just did, and everyone else gets excited about it, and guys like me and DJ and Dylan Bloom, our buddy Tim has a new thing. We share that thing and we like it, and then other people see it and they like it. Well, then when a lesser artist who's just coming up to take like a Downtown Nowhere or somebody like that, like they're brand new, they've got a really unique thing too, and they put out a song. Well, because they helped share this stuff, these other guys, they share. I'm like, hey, check out these guys coming up the pipe. Look at, again, I'm picking on a couple of artists. I feel bad that I can't name everybody, but it helps everyone. And that organic feel of what you're talking about, you can't buy that.
Yeah.
And when you start getting that happening, it becomes very important.
That's right. No, that's true. How can Holdridge and Phelps County better support FiJack in future endeavors?
Oh, gosh. Well, honestly, just follow us on all the socials, obviously. But really, whenever there is some sort of an event, whether paying or a free one, man, try to come out. I always have to preface a lot of things, but we all have seen, you and I especially have seen over all the years, there's these times when the music's really good, and then there's these times where people get desperate for whatever it is, reason for just entertainment, and they'll just hire anybody, and the music's not so great, so you quit going out. But there's definitely a free show supporting any of the arts, like the some of the stuff that's happened in the last few weeks, even, with the Iron Horse Arts District. There's going to be more of these things that are don't cost anything. Go support it, or at least go online and check out who's playing and see if it's something that you're interested in. And if you can, if it's something that you think you might like, FiJack's trying to do a thing where we're bringing in quality artists, even acoustic artists, and give them a chance. Give us a chance.
You also never know who's performing. He says, do your research. And I realized last week when they had their show, a friend of mine that I used to work with was performing at the show, which I think is awesome. So shout out Cole Ryan. One thing I like to end every episode with is one piece of business or life, it can be business or life advice, that you'd just like to leave the Connect audience with. I know it's kind of putting you on the spot. But.
No, it's good. Like Nike, just do it.
That's great.
Just do something. If you're trying to start a business in some way, that means you have some sort of entrepreneurial spirit. So, but it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to be talked out of trying something. And just because someone else might have it, or you come across I talk to a lot of different businesses all the time. There's so many, let's pick the cookie shop, right? That's an easy thing to do. There's lots of cookies. There's there's Eileen's cookies and we all know the cookies, the biggest ones, and then there's the big commercial, Oreo, right? It's well, does that mean because Oreo is already killing it? Because I love Oreos.
I do too.
But I like Eileen's cookies too. But if someone wants to open a cookie shop down here, does that mean that, or if I want to do it, that I just shouldn't do it? No, it just means you've got to figure out some things, but you should totally, if that's your passion, you really want to do it, you should just try to do it.
Yep. That's great advice. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today, Luke.